Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Shantia here. So today we're going to be doing a review for Married at First Sight, Season 13, Episode 16. So I'm sick again. That's what I get for saying that I never get sick. So you might hear my voice is going to be a little bit phlegmy, but we're just going to try to get through this review as best as possible. This episode was about the yes or the no and each couple weighing their yes and their no. What would it take for them to say yes? What would it take for them to say no? Towards the end of this review, I would appreciate if you guys stay with me because I have some questions that I want to share that I think every person should ask themselves when it comes to pursuing a relationship, what they want, or also helping to manifest or bring their dreams into fruition. And these questions have helped me to bring my dreams into fruition and are continuing to help me bring my dreams into fruition. If you stay at the end, I'd appreciate that. Also, hit the subscribe and like, and make sure you comment down below so you can partake in the discussion because I always read all the comments. Appreciate it. Let's go ahead and start with Brett and Ryan. So Brett and Ryan obviously had a hard time this season establishing any kind of connection. Ryan, now I can't deny that with Ben, if the attraction isn't there, then the relationship can't really kick off or go anywhere. Ryan pretty much decided right away in his head that he wasn't attracted to Brett. The issue was that he couldn't communicate that. We can't deny that he's a terrible communicator, but I think there's a core issue even further behind that. There's a fear of intimacy behind that lack of communication, a fear of vulnerability. That was probably a learned behavior because his parents had issues in the relationship and he was brought up not really learning the proper communication skills in relationships. So there you go. The way that I think Ryan can work on this further is to go to probably therapy and to go to therapy specifically for communication, and working on his communication skills would help him huge. But the denial about the intimacy, he's, dated a lot, he's fallen in love before, but the fact that he's been the problem and his lack of communication skills haven't helped, and his inability to improve on that. The thing is, it's like, okay, I know I have this issue. I'm a bad communicator, but why am I not working on them? So that's the thing. I think there's a little denial that's happening with him. I think a lot of these contestants, they're just ready. And it's like, but you can't communicate? So there's a denial about that. It's like, that's a basic skill. That's an essential skill as a human being. Forget relationships. But as a human being, you need that skill to function. Otherwise, you dysfunction. The issue wasn't just a lack of communication and, the fear of vulnerability and fear of intimacy with someone through communication. But his words didn't ever hold weight. He would say one thing, he would do another. Just a character flaw as well that he's having to work on and admit. With Brett, it's the fire. So I was talking about in my previous reviews that Brett really needed to bring the fire. The thing is, when I say the fire, that the passion, the clarity of who you are, the confidence, I'm also talking about boundaries and self-respect. You got to bring that, because when that's energetically established, the men, they will know your boundaries. And them seeing your confidence, your boundaries, and your self-respect will make them respect you more. So you have to be very clear about that from the get-go. Otherwise, people will walk all over you. She said before that she's been overly giving, overly considerate in her previous partnerships. Obviously, that hasn't served her before, and it's not serving her now. I think she really understood that towards the end of this episode. She needed him to push her to the edge for her to say, like, no, this is not okay, and I will not put up with this ish ever again. Towards the last couple of episodes, we really started to see her fire come out. But you don't want to wait for someone to push you to the edge for you to show them that. Don't be afraid to show them that. Turn the volume up. Be unapologetically, authentically who you are. Be confident about your boundaries, your expectations, and what you want. We're not demanding it. We're being confident about them. We're embracing them. You don't want to wait for someone to say, I don't want to be with you. Leave. Leave. Why is he leaving first? You should have been packed your bags, honestly. She was just being overly considerate about the whole situation. I think it was very clear that Ryan was fully ready to move on because he kept talking about, I can't believe I have to start all over again. I have to start all over. So he's obviously not considering Brett at all. And so we see where he stands. He's very clear about that. See, that's the thing about Ryan is he's very clear. If he's done, he's done. He's very clear within himself. He can't communicate it. But Brett, it took her a minute to get there. I think they're both going to say no, obviously, because there's no reason for them. There's nothing between the two of them. There's no connection, no friendship, no tie, nothing. And that's what it is. Every time I see Ryan on TV, I'm just like, he's taking up TV time. Can we just Next person, please. Let's go ahead and talk about Rachel and Jose. Rachel, I think, has a beautiful, consistent personality. That's what someone said, and I'm quoting them. Yes. What I love about Rachel is her femininity, is her vulnerability. She's authentically who she is. She just has a sweetness to her that is very magnetic, and it's like no wonder that Jose is drawn to her. I think with Rachel, her issue has been that, yes, she has been a little bit too naive. If it were me, if someone had locked me out and they wanted to work their way back into my life, first of all, I would not be preparing to move into their house. No ways. If you lock me out of a place that's not even yours, no ways. I would put them on the sidelines and I would say, we're just dating. And not only that, I'm going to date other people too. Because guess what? You're not the only candidate and you need to prove to me why you deserve to be with me. You're just like a stranger on the street. Like, you have to show me all over again. You have to work towards me all over again. That's the only thing. Yes, I think she's being too naive. The cards on the fridge about being a decent human being, I mean, come on. It's obvious. There are just signs here and there. There's his dismissiveness towards, what she really wants, what she really cares about. The thing that I love about Rachel and Jose is that they have this beautiful polarity play between the two of them. So they have this feminine masculine energy polarity, and Jose even stated it, is that the relationship is very reciprocal. So he's very satisfied in how she does her part, he does his part, and they both give to each other in the relationship. What I also really enjoy about Rachel and Jose is that they enjoy the fairy tale. Now, I know people always say that marriage is hard, relationships is hard. Undeniably, no matter what, it's always work. But I would also like to say that there's a spectrum when it comes to relationships. There is the difficulty, there's the struggle. Sometimes marriage is consistent, it's stable. And then there's also the bliss. There's the fairy tale. There's the excitement. And the thing is, you should be able to enjoy all of those on the spectrum and appreciate the lessons of the struggle. Enjoy the fairy tale because you earned that fairy tale. When you said I do, you earned that fairy tale. So why don't you enjoy that fairy tale? That's what I like about Rachel and Jose. They indulge in that. With Jose, his core issue is that he undeniably has some insecurities because he still can't admit that he locked his wife out the house, not even to his friend. He can't admit it. He said to his friend that my wife left when things got hard. That's the only thing I'm gonna have to struggle with. And the fact that she stayed with an ex. And I'm like, you left out the part where you locked her out of the house. That's pretty important. So what that shows me is that Jose doesn't fully have Rachel's back. And that's problematic because the masculine energy naturally protects the feminine. Weren't Rachel and Jose talking about, I would jump in front of a bullet for you, but I'm betting you that Jose isn't thinking the same. I don't think he's thinking the same. Now, he wants to be provider, but I don't think men in America really understand. We're a melting pot of all kinds of different values, which means we don't have a consistent value base that we follow. And so I feel like when people pursue relationships, men often don't know what to look for, what to vet for. Women don't know what to look for, what to vet for. I think men are often missing that, especially if they haven't been shown that example of that consistent, healthy marriage. They don't know how to properly provide or protect their wife or care for them. And I think, honestly, it's fixable with anyone if, you go to therapy, if you work on that, if you acknowledge it, if you're self-aware enough to understand it, understand biology and how polarity works between feminine and masculine energy, then you can work on it. But with Jose, he's not fully protecting his wife. He doesn't have her back. If he's saying that she left versus he locked her out, he doesn't have her back because he should be very careful about and consider, and at the very least, honest about how he presents her. And so he'll shower her with great words, but then he won't share his insecurities or flaws either. And that's problematic. I think a lot of men also, it showed up consistently for all the men on this episode, is that they have a hard time, they're so prideful, they have a hard time admitting when they're wrong or admitting when they're insecure or they have issues. And that's a problem as well. I know men, naturally, they have, someone said this, okay? I'm just quoting someone, okay? Fragile egos. Actually, my dad said that before. Not just this other person, but I've heard it multiple times by men, is that men have fragile egos, a lot of pride, and it's part of the masculine energy. It's like if they don't have that, like, beat on the chest, masculine energies, like how are they going to go out there and hunt for their family and kill the bear? And I don't know. all that stuff that they had to do. But he should be protecting not just himself, but his wife as well. He's being too selfish, right? So just watch for that. It's something that, you know, you can improve on, you can learn. I think Rachel and Jose aren't totally doomed. I think they do have some really beautiful qualities that have shown up. And out of all the men, Jose is actually shown to treat his wife consistently good and better. So unfortunately, the bar has been set very low. But yeah, out of all the men, Jose has consistently treated his wife the best. It's just, you had that big blow up, that big insecurity, and obviously character flaws show up. So he's very much in denial about it, and he would have to see a therapist for sure to work on that. And I would definitely encourage a couples therapists for him and Rachel as well. Jose has also been very dismissive towards Rachel's desire to travel. Even before Rachel brought up the vacationing, Jose talked about, he was very calculative about this. He brought up Instagram and how people live these YOLO lives and it messes up relationships. And Rachel was like, well, I wouldn't agree with that. She's like, I want to travel with you. I want to travel with my partner. And she's like, I want to go travel to different countries. And he's like, oh, we'll go to Las Vegas and the city over next door. The thing is, you can't deny he's a problem solver. So, you know, usually with the feminine energy, a woman will bring in her desire and then the man will be the problem solver. So he is kind of problem solving, but he's not compromising. He's not meeting in the middle. He's just saying, well, this is what I can do, you know, as opposed to actually trying to meet her somewhere. So the thing about men is, like, why do men get married, right? They want the fairy tale, the romance, the feminine energy, the beauty, the warmth in the home. Women bring so much invaluable traits to a relationship that men value. Men get married because they want the romance, they want the love, and to enjoy her happiness. So if she says, this is what makes me happy, I want to enjoy this experience with you, wouldn't it be best for you to find some kind of compromise, you know, instead of just kind of sliding totally right in a totally different direction of what she just said she wanted? If he really cared about her, he would try to find some kind of compromise. He could even say, instead of every year, how about every 3 years or every 4 years we go on a epic trip? But every year, that can get expensive. Or we can get creative, right? How can we bring in this money or make up for this money to afford these trips? I think Rachel also admitted that she's not the best with money, so maybe Jose is also considering and thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to pay for these trips, so I need to arrange it so that I can afford it and I can be the provider for it. I think he is being, like, very practical about it, but at the same time, his selfishness has consistently shown up in his conversations with Rachel. All right, so that's Rachel and Jose. I think they're both gonna say yes, and I think we'll get to see their story go on. Let's go ahead and move on to Michaela and Zach. So I think Michaela and Zach are undeniably way too unstable to be in a relationship, immature to be in a relationship. With Michaela, there's the trauma. She has issues with trauma that she has to heal. And the thing is, she's really in denial about it because she's not just lied, but she's, like, blatantly lied in a way that she felt that it was okay. So if a person lies to protect themselves, it's like she lied so effortlessly, you know she's done it before many times. She's so used to presenting herself a certain way and then doing the total opposite and then being okay with it. Just being like, oh, yep, I act crazy. Well, you know, it's just life, right? Just move on. So, you know, there's a huge trauma and denial issue that needs to be addressed by her. That would just take, honestly, she has to say yes to therapy. But the thing is, I'm not really sure she would or is willing to do that. It's possible, but she's so far and deep in denial that I think it would take a lot for her to wake up. So moving on to Zach, I think we can establish that he is a people pleaser. He's easily influenced. He has a tendency when he's with people to say whatever needs to be said to please them and to maybe even please himself to some extent, because he needs to see himself being really nice or presenting himself as a nice person too. So he keeps saying that Michaela is this amazing woman, and I'm just like, why even use that word? Use something else, because I'm just like, I don't understand why even use that word. I wouldn't even go near that word. He says he has one deal breaker, but there's a lot of issues too to talk about. I think he's really intelligent, and at times there's been moments of clarity to show up, and he said, I'm going to say no because he knows he should say no. Those are the moments of clarity for him. but they haven't been consistent. I honestly think he just needs to do journaling. He needs to get to know himself because he has all these thoughts running around in his head, but they're not grounded. They're just floating around in the abyss. And he can't seem to know which one is the one he wants. With Zach, I think journaling would do him a huge favor to his identity and understanding who he really is and what he really wants. Otherwise, he's always going to be mirroring back to his partners what they want, not knowing or not really seeing or understanding what he wants for himself. I think that's his main issue. He admitted that this experience made him cry more than he's ever cried his entire life. So obviously there's some things in therapy that he needs to get out and talk about. It's like, where does that perfectionism come from? Now that I'm really thinking about it, I think he's had a lot of high expectations on himself as a man. This is the way that he's gotten through life, is put a lot of pressure on himself, be what people want him to be. That's why I say he doesn't know who he is, because he can present himself as this ideal person and be this dreamboat guy, but behind him, he's not fully grounded. And so people will see that. They'll be like, I don't think you quite know who you are or what you really want. What I really see in Zach is I think he really wants to be a good person, but he definitely needs to take sex and relationships off of the table for him to know who he is, because I think they're hugely clouding his judgment. For people to think that sex doesn't cloud their judgment, I mean, it's ridiculous. It does. So that's my opinion about that. I think Zach has been hinting that he's been gonna say no, so we'll just kind of see how it goes. I think Michaela's just gonna follow his lead. So moving on to Bao and Johnny, I think we all hope that Bao is gonna tell Johnny absolutely heck no, ever, ever, ever in a million years. No, sir. So Johnny has brought up a million times that the issue is always Bao and that she's shown many red flags, but he is the red flag. He's just treated her very poorly. I was thinking about what would make me say yes, what would make me say no. For me, the no for sure is poor character. With Johnny, he has poor character. He doesn't react very healthy under pressure. He resorts to meanness and cruelty and verbal abuse and thinks it's okay. To me, his poor character is enough for me to say no, never, never. I don't know why Bao was presenting it as though she was gonna say yes. I don't know if she's being calculative and she wants him to think she's gonna say yes. But we all know she should say no, and she knows she should say no because she said it before. I deserve better than this. And her talking about, well, this is marriage and, you need to give it a chance, and having that conversation, yes, but you also need to think about your mental health. You need to think about everything that you've witnessed so far. And you have to really decide, is this the character, is this the person who I want to father my child and be my husband? Does this person inspire me? Do I look up to them? Do I really respect them? Do they respect me? If respect isn't there, no healthy relationship can be possibly established. I really loved Bao's dress in this episode. I thought she looked amazing. I always thought she had an amazing body, and so we got to see that, girl. Yes, you were serving it. We appreciate it. With Bao, she did bring up this idea of no deal breakers, which I was just like, he is the deal breaker. Girl, what are you talking about? He's the deal broken. Again, with Bao, I don't know if she's gotten that full clarity of understanding, you don't have to struggle through this or continue to struggle. Our ancestors struggled, so we didn't have to. We don't need to continue ancestral patterns. When we see people struggling, we can observe and we can decide to do differently. That's what makes us more evolved. We need to continue to evolve ourselves and generations after, our kids and kids' kids and kids' kids after that. The way that we do that is we observe, we see what doesn't work, and we do differently. So with Bao, that's really the lesson here, is she saw that her parents struggled, but she doesn't have to. That's the point. With Johnny, he admitted that he was an emotional wreck in this episode, which I think that's the best thing that he said all season, fully admitting that, because there is undoubtedly a fear of intimacy, a huge fear of intimacy with him. Mother issues and father issues showing up, trauma showing up. So therapy is most definitely what he needs, because when you're intentionally being cruel to someone and you don't see it as such, you got major issues, in denial issues to look at and reflect on. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the final couple, Mirela and Gill. So honestly, I was kind of surprised to see Gill talk to Mirela in the way that he did this episode. I was really disappointed because it really came off as he has a chip on his shoulder. He's insecure, and he's insecure about her success. Now, this discussion is probably going to be a bit longer because there are so many things that I have to say about Mirela and Gill and what's going on. So the thing is, we're seeing this, right? But what we're not seeing is Mirela isn't really showing her side of the picture. She's not really saying anything. In fact, she's only saying the positive things. I don't know if maybe Gill, to some degree, got to her psychologically and she didn't want to complain about him because he kept complaining about her complaining, but she never says anything. And the thing is, a lot of the couples who, in the past episodes and this season, who haven't said anything to the experts about what's really going on, already you've kind of failed your marriage because you're not revealing the truth. And if you can't reveal the truth, we can't work through the issues. So I don't know if Mirela's just holding it all in and she's not really fully saying what's going on, but we're only getting part of the picture. She's very tight-lipped about what's going on in their relationship, which technically it's healthy, but you want to get those issues out there. You might want to like try to confide in a few people, especially your friends, to figure out some things. Otherwise, there are going to be some flags that you miss along the way that won't be acknowledged because maybe you're not fully seeing them. Maybe you need someone else's perspective. I gotta say this. No savings? How? I'm just like, no savings? To me, you should always have something. You should always have something, but to have no savings. So that makes me question Gill's integrity. Because why sign up for marriage, let alone married at first sight? It just doesn't really make any sense to me. You know, you say you want kids and 8 kids and this I don't know, the humble lifestyle, but even then you have something saved in the bank. When I've gone through changes, I always make sure I have something saved in the bank because you never know. You know, you never know. You might need that for a rainy day. There's a number of things. So let's kind of like run through the conversation. So when Gill was at the skate land with Mirela, he talked about, you think you're made of gold. I think you step on people who have less than you, and she's forgetting where she came from. That was enough. That was enough for me to be like, no, girl, back out, reverse, uno, leave, go on, you can do better. There's a couple things here. So there's the pride thing that could be showing up, right? Men have fragile egos, they have more pride, but the way he handled it, that's the thing. And then to be telling her about how to handle her finances and spending when he has no savings makes no sense to me. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Now, I do get the vibe that Gill wants to be the protective provider in the relationship. But the thing is, you got married too soon, sir. You're still building. Do not get married when you are in your building stage. Continue to build. Take your time. Because what's going to happen is your partner now is going to have to compensate, and they're going to have to struggle with you through all of that. When you're in your building stage, you're also getting to know who you are in your identity. I don't know if Gill at some point just like decided to sign up for this because, you know, I'm good at dating and people like me and I know what I want. And he thought that was enough for him to be in a relationship or be married. And I'm like, it's not enough. Finances are huge. And I'm like, here you are telling Mirela, who's been making, saving, thriving, how to spend her money when you have no savings. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, why even bring it up? It's kind of embarrassing. Gill consistently has gotten on about Mirela complaining, but he's also, on this episode, gotten on about Mirela thinking that she's better than everyone. That she's high class, that she's forgetting where she comes from. That he said, I worked very hard to get to where I'm at. And Mirela's like, did I not? He's like, you're spoiled. And here's the thing. I want to say, there's a couple things I have to say about that. So being spoiled, it doesn't make sense to call someone spoiled when they're successful. To me, I'm like, is that your way of trying to bring her down and tell her that she ain't good enough as a human being? He's telling her that she's judging other people while he's judging her. And someone said it in another review, they said moral superiority. Moral superiority. It's like Mirela has more success, but Gill's acting more morally superior than her. Well, I need to humble you. I need to remind you where you came from because you forgot. There is no reason for me to be in this relationship. I will politely get the divorce papers and send them to you. Goodbye. Sir, no savings? You're lucky she looked your way. The fact that she knows he has no savings. They consummated their marriage. She's enjoying her time with him. Sir, you're lucky she looked your way. It's unbelievable. So, what do I think the core issue is? It might be the masculine wound. So Gill lost his father at a young age. His father was killed. What that did is he lost a primary male role model in his life. He didn't have that. When you lose a significant, no matter what age, you lose a significant male role model in your life, especially a father, it creates a wound that has to be healed. And clearly, I was thinking in the previous episode when he was talking about his father being killed, he was absolutely affected by it because you have to know how to treat a woman. Now, at times he's been very respectful and kind to her, but that is not how you be the masculine provider in your family. Telling her that you don't like the high rise, you're judging her for wanting more. You should be glad that she does. Because guess what? She's going to elevate you. She's going to elevate you. She's going to inspire you to want to create more for your family. That's what she's supposed to do. And you're repressing it and suppressing it. She says she enjoys shopping. Why are you trying to suppress that? That's her joy. Let her enjoy it. I don't understand. And I'm assuming that he probably became the head of his household at a very young age. When men have to become the head of the household very young, they're stunted in other ways because they have to grow up too fast. They become very serious about certain areas of their life, but other areas get stunted. They're not able to cultivate certain things. And I think with Gill, he wasn't able to cultivate that true understanding of who he was. And like he said, the vulnerability. He said being with Mirela helped him work on the vulnerability and feel more connected. But his insecurities is showing up big time. Gill having that discussion with his mother, just like Jose, he didn't protect his wife. He called her high class, spoiled, a complainer. But what are the other things, Gill, that you're not telling your mother about? Paint the full picture. That's very problematic because obviously if the masculine isn't protecting the feminine, he doesn't truly have your back. He doesn't truly and cannot truly care for you. He should have mostly good things to say about her. It's popped up here and there, but it was just raining down in this episode. And so it became crystal clear. So this doesn't make any sense to me. Where is the logic in this? He doesn't want her to change him, but he thinks that she has a lot of change to do. She needs to come down to his humble. He's trying to bring her down to his humble level. It just makes no sense. I said it in the previous review. Two people on two sides of the spectrum having to do a lot of extra work to come over and meet in the middle. They want two totally different lifestyles and therefore they're very incompatible. But then the thing is, if a man lacks self-awareness, you're not very conscious. If you're not a very conscious man, it's going to be problematic because you don't really fully have the capability to see what you're doing. And Gill isn't fully conscious. He's just acting out in reaction to his insecurities. The way that I really saw him, when he was talking to his mother, it really exemplified how shallowly he thinks of her. How shallowly. He keeps saying that she judges him, but he's been very shallow about how he talks about her to other people. That's enough for me to be like, you don't really care for her. So, sir, why are we playing this game? And I really wish Mirela didn't consummate the marriage with you because you didn't deserve it. Not after the way you talk to her. Mirela, she hasn't said a lot. That's actually her flaw. We have no idea what's going on. Now, there may be some truth to what Gill said about her thinking that she's better than people or presenting herself a certain way. She might have said some things about other people. But I will also say I think Mirela is and has a really kind, loving heart. And the reason why I see that and say that is because of her friends. They seem really considerate of her and kind, and they seem like really kind people to be around. Like, it says a lot about the people you hang with. With Gill, so I noticed this from the beginning, but I wasn't sure. With Gill, his friends, I noticed, were younger than him, and they actually all seemed kind of immature. Most of them seemed kind of immature, like young. And I was wondering what that was about. And that's because that's kind of where Gill is at in his life. He's in this building phase of his life, the immaturity, not really marriage material or marriage. He's not really in the marriage chapter of his life. And Mirela noted that. She said that we are in two different places and he really has an issue with her wanting what she wants and she doesn't want to have to compromise. So I have a couple things to say about that. Again, there's a thing called masculine and feminine energy polarity. And there's also something called a masculine container. So for a woman, if she's providing for herself, taking care of herself, she's working, paying her own bills and stuff, she often, if she's really good with her money, she puts a masculine container around herself. She will put a limit on what she can spend, but also she'll raise her expectations on what she can make, kind of the masculine container. She'll create that for herself. I think Gill, in a way, he said it with his mother. He said that he wants to provide and that he can, but he doesn't think it's fair. I mean, that's really interesting conversation. I would love it for you guys to kind of comment down below and share in your experiences or your thoughts about the spending and what's fair and what's not fair. I think someone said it in another video, and I would have to agree with them, is you don't have to make it such a big deal. Like if someone makes more money and they have to pay maybe a majority of the bills in the relationship, then maybe that's so. He's saying that he can't provide for her lifestyle, but you know, I have to say with someone who doesn't have a savings, I don't think you can provide for any lifestyle. That's all I have to say about that. When it comes to the masculine container, I think Gill is trying to be the masculine container. It's actually pretty normal for a woman to do or want to spend more in the relationship and for the man to have a container and be like, nope, you're only going to spend this much. That's pretty normal. I think that's what he was trying to do, but it just seems silly considering he hasn't been the best with his finances either. Another thing I wanted to talk about with Mirela is the father wound. So I think her losing her father as well and not having that main male role model in her life caused issues, because the thing is, you want to make sure your father vets that man, right? And having a father around makes you feel protected as a woman. So she said she had to watch her mother struggle a lot and work a lot to provide for her and her brother. And so she learned to do the same thing. Work really hard. I don't know what Gil's talking about, that she didn't work hard. Like, just because she was successful doesn't mean you have to diminish her success. I didn't really understand why he was getting so upset about it, because she wasn't trying to shove it in his face. And in fact, she accepted him and consummated the marriage with him. That should have shown him she accepts me. But he doesn't accept himself. He has insecurities, and therefore he's projecting them onto her. With Mirela, again, we have to consider this the masculine feminine energy polarity. The thing about a woman is it's perfectly fine for her to be independent, provide for herself, and do all these things. But when she's in her masculine energy, she actually repels masculine men. In order for her to attract those masculine men, she needs to shift her energy towards the feminine and become a magnet. I don't know if maybe Gill was kind of picking up on this energy of Mirela's. Maybe she's in her masculine energy more often than not, or more frequently than he would like, and it kind of repels him a little bit. When you're in your masculine energy, and especially if you're defensive or aggressive or anything, men will see you as competition. They won't see you as the feminine anymore. They won't feel this, I need to protect you. They'll see you as competition. And men do that automatically without even thinking. It's like a biological switch. But especially if they're insecure, it will show itself and it will rear its head in very ugly ways, just like it's doing, and it has done with Gill in this previous episode. I'm really hoping now that Mirela says no, because she's very particular about what she presents in front of the camera. And the thing is, on camera, she hasn't spoken the way he's spoken about her in front of the cameras. You know, he's not really protecting her, but she's protecting him. And to me, that's very problematic and unbalanced. He should be deserving of that. And I wish she would have been more vocal about what's going on, because I know he ain't perfect. Like, the thing is, the reason why it's taken me and a lot of other people so long to see this side of Gill is because she hasn't said anything. She's not complaining about him. But the thing is, we get in our head that saying something negative about our partner is bad. No, that's feedback. He needs to know what he needs to work on. Why is he the only one telling you to change? Why aren't you bringing up, well, I don't like this that you do? They say they have good communication, but I wonder if it's only one-sided. And, you know, with his insecurities coming up, maybe he's just thinking, well, this is just how we're going to continue to communicate. I like the playful banter between the two of them. I liked when they are enjoying themselves, when they were skating, and they do seem to have a nice chemistry. Him being in his building stage and having those insecurities, and her being in a different stage in life, that's kind of enough for them to not continue to be together, because you don't have to wait. Like, you don't have to wait. There's so many people to choose from. This isn't your only option. This is just the married at first sight option. Now learn from it and go out there and choose your partner with clear intention. I think they're going to say yes, but I really want Mirela to say no, because I want her to see clearly that she shouldn't settle because it's going to bother her, because she's worked so hard to create this life for herself. She wants what she wants and she deserves to have it. And being around someone who they diminish your value because you've done well for yourself and you're not even like trying to shove it in their face or anything, it's not a healthy partnership. It's not a balanced partnership. I think Gill has also presented himself in very good ways throughout this season, and he's done some I've liked the way he's approached communication in certain areas, but he's done enough for me to just be like, girl, run. Girl, get up, leave, sign the papers, and move on with your life. Okay, so that is my review of Married at First Sight. It was long because that's I think this is the final long review. The next review that I do, it's going to be so short because we're just going to be like, yes, no, we're just going to kind of celebrate. So make sure you guys tune in for the next review. I would love it if you guys like, subscribe, and comment down below. Share with me what you think about each of the couples, what your prediction is going to be about decision day, and I'll try to make sure I get to the comment section before that day comes up. So now I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys some of the questions I love to ask myself to help me gain clarity on my dreams, my desires, and the questions that have helped me to fulfill my dreams and my desires. The first one, what is in your heart? What's in your heart? I always ask people this. It's my favorite question to ask myself. What's in your heart? So I think often we're confused about what's going on in life, this and that, everything. What's in your heart? Because the heart is pretty consistent and it usually just wants one thing. Next, what do I need to feel my best? A certain kind of partner that would help me to elevate myself, or maybe I need to exercise or eat better. What do I need? Next question. This is similar to the heart. What's your desire? What's your desire? So by the way, I'm putting my hand over my heart because I'm asking all of these questions from the heart, and I'm letting the heart answer the questions. What's your desire? What do you want? What do you want? These are also great questions that Zach could ask himself. What do you want, Zach? And then final question. How do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? So the reason why we're often going through life feeling confused is because we forget to ask ourselves these questions. Life doesn't quite have the limits that we set on ourselves. You don't have to settle in partnerships and relationships that do not serve you. You have to give yourself the opportunity, the trust, the faith to understand that there is something for you that is a match for you out there. Whether it's a job, a person, a friend, a home, a car, anything. Ask yourself those questions, answer those questions, put your hand over your heart while you do that, and see how it makes you feel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you tune in next week for the next review at Married at First Sight, and I hope you have a wonderful day or evening. Bye. Also, I would love to add in, whether it's a face, a furry face, or a favorite place, my artworks are treasured keepsakes, unique and tailored to your most treasured memories. I do portrait commissions that are gifted from and created with heart. So go ahead and check out my website. I'll go ahead and link down below. You guys can see if you're interested in me doing commissions for you. Also, I sell my own fine art, which is a labor of love. My artwork tends to lean towards identity and healing. So if you're interested in checking that out, then go ahead and look at my link down below. All right, I hope you guys have a wonderful day or evening. Thank you for watching, and tune in for next week for the next review of Married at First Sight. Bye.